So it's day 289 of Hey, What Are You Doing Today? Um, and I think this is going to be the most difficult video that I've made yet. Um, I'm going to talk about something that's uncomfortable for me to talk about. Uh, it's interesting because sometimes I'll have kind of a somewhat of an idea formulated about how to tie certain things together in one of these videos, and then I turn on the camera and just get overwhelmed with a wash of thoughts and words and trying to connect the pieces. So I guess I'll start with this idea is that along this journey, there's certain elements that I've noticed kind of have helped me with this growing process, and they're um, for lack of being at a or for being at a loss of words, I'm just going to start talking and just get it out there. But basically, this journey has turned into a major self-development journey, and it's interesting to have seen it evolve and to see the different outlets. And initially it was a mental thing. It was I wanted to learn more. I wanted to become more intelligent and smarter and better educated in business, for the initial goal of creating a freedom of not having to work for someone anymore, and to be self-reliant in this world, and generate my own income. That was a major motivator. So it started on that path of a mental quest, and I let myself be totally open, to whatever I came across, and I kind of read everything with an open mind, and took from it the pieces that seemed to speak to me, seemed to motivate me, seemed to give me some kind of wisdom, and just kind of let things start guiding me in different ways. And the mental side of it was also in unison with the physical side of it. That's how the journey started. As well as wanting to learn things, I decided that I was going to do my best to get in better shape than I was in. And through that, I've changed my diet. My diet has changed easily 100% from where it was. I still have days where I regress, and that's okay. It's not something I'm going to judge, but for the most part, my diet has been very strong, and it's evolved too. I think for a while there, I think I was eating too much fruit, and now I've substituted a lot more vegetables, and I still, but prior to that, I was eating no fruit whatsoever, and very little vegetables. But that's another element I don't want to get into. But those were the two things: the mental side, and the physical side. And as I began learning things, I started to notice that I had a lot of emotional weaknesses. I had a lot of things going on, and how I related to people, how I handled problems, how I let my emotions take me over and run me, how my emotions were stronger than my mind, how I acted a lot more, reacted a lot more from emotional triggers than I would from calculating and mental actions, that pass through that mental fire before they arise. I was living on a very emotional plane, and a very weak emotional plane. So that quickly developed into that side of things, and learning about that, and different ways to handle myself as a human being, and I was totally open to that. And that quickly developed into the spirituality side. From that, from the information that I was getting from that, and vice versa. All these things kind of correlate and compound with one another. But it was intriguing to see the development. The first part of this, I believe, the physical side was the strongest thing. Was the thing that I was really focused on, and I haven't lost that focus by any means. I've carried that with me throughout these 289 days, but that was really the focal point, and I was kind of at a loss for what I was going to be seeking as far as knowledge. And then as different information started coming to me, that quickly transferred over to the mental side of things. And then from there, I started learning about the emotional side of things, and that quickly became the emphasis. And now I've gone down this road of spirituality, and it just washes everything else away in some regards. It's so encompassing. All these other elements are components of it, but somehow and for some reason, and wasn't something I was seeking by any means. I didn't go out to go on a spiritual quest. Actually, 289 days ago, I was probably as far from being a spiritual person as I could have ever known. I may have had some few odds and end little trinkets or statues from different religions that I thought were interesting or kind of, decorative. I might have a wooden Buddha somewhere. I might have one of the Hindu gods, made a little paperweight, or those kind of items. Might have a cross, but ultimately, spirituality was not much more than that. And another peculiar part of this is I've always been, because of my lack of knowledge or because of the knowledge or my experience with Christianity, that's always kind of been a tarnished religion to me. Growing up, I was raised somewhat Catholic. I wouldn't say too strongly raised. Nothing was really ever taught or explained to me. I had a few Bible school lessons when I was a kid, or growing up, we went to church somewhat regularly until I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, and then kind of faded from there, and we went sparingly. But going to church, or what the Catholics call Mass, was always kind of a tedious, boring, monotonous, took nothing from it kind of an event. The traditions and symbolism didn't seem to speak to me. Some of the things some of the different guilt aspects that come with Catholicism, some of that cliche guilt, I was raised with a little bit of that, so that kind of turned me off. And the Bible made no sense to me. There's been times in my life where I picked up the Bible just kind of as a curiosity and looked at it and opened it and read something, and it just made no sense, for lack of a better way of putting it. It didn't speak to me at all. And here within the last month, I've come across this information. Something has brought me to Christianity, and the really peculiar part of it is I was really intrigued by Taoism when I first had come across some of the aspects of Taoism, and that was really kind of enticing my mind, and it's peculiar now to see Christianity in a different light and see see how similar it is to Taoism, see how similar it is to Buddhism in some regards. I don't know much about Hinduism, and I've briefly looked at the Quran, and I've seen some history um, on some other religions, but I can't speak very comfortably about any of them. But all of a sudden, I've been just enveloped with some of this information, and I'm finding, it's taken me down some really peculiar roads. For some reason, I'm being drawn to archaic monasteries in Russia, and I'm not sure why that is, but just an interesting little side note. But I found a book which I haven't looked into too much, called, I believe it's pronounced Philokalia. And some writings that are just some peculiar things that I've never looked at as, never would have thought of as Christian, when I say that. The reason it's difficult for me to talk about it is because I've always, anytime I've ever come across somebody that was talking about Christianity, it always felt like that it was their intentions to try to convert me to it. It was their intentions to try to bring me to it, to try to get me to see their way of seeing, and for some reason that kind of turned me off too. There's a whole element that a man who thinks that he's of some sound mind and sensical, as I kind of thought I was, may see religion as a control factor for societies or governments, or even just chains of relationships. But the more I study this aspect, this peculiar thing that I've come across, it's the more free I feel, the more humble I feel, the more grateful I feel. And there's this peace that I've never known before in my life. It's just the most amazing feeling. It's a peace that is also just the most amazing bliss I've ever experienced. There's no other way to describe it. It's a blissful peace and a peaceful bliss all at the same time. However, it's a struggle. There's a struggle to it. I feel like I've been so much a part of this world which I can't seem to understand. And now I've been presented with this other way of looking at the world through the interior world, and there's so many lessons to learn to live in that interior world. I've never even, studying the little bit of Christianity I got, I never heard anybody talk about the interior world. And then I guess, one of the more amazing things I've come across is just this simple thing. It's the simplest thing. It's referred to as the Jesus Prayer. I've never heard mention of it. And again, I'm not a spiritual person. I was never raised a religious person. But there's this thing, it's called a Jesus Prayer, and it's just a very brief 4-line, 5-line prayer. I've seen it written a couple different ways, sometimes just 2 lines. But and then it correlates with something called ceaseless prayer, or prayer without ceasing. And I've been using it in this way, just to simply state the prayer. There's a couple different versions, but Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. That's all it is. Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. And the more I say it, the better I feel. Um, and that's what I was told would happen through different things that I was reading. And it sounded hokey. However, it's become so valid, not only in that, not only in just saying that. And, I'll say it not necessarily out loud, but at any stressful time, there's a situation that comes up that I'm angered about, I can start saying that. And what that does is the same thing as uh, different meditations from different religions. It's a meditation of sorts, and all of a sudden it turns off the negative element of what's going on in my brain. That communication, that say somebody's upset me, or I'm taking something personally that's upsetting me, or I'm stressed out about a situation. Something not going correctly, or maybe too much going on, and I'm in a situation where I can't handle whatever the situation is. If that prayer comes up, it dissolves everything, and it takes me back to this bliss, this peace, this stillness. I've never would have thought that Christianity was about stillness. As far as I knew, it was about being smote by God, or doing things wrong, and this God comes and will take you away, or whatever the case might be. But just a powerful thing. And as I continue on this venture, there's this love that grows, and for everybody around me, for myself, for strangers, for enemies. Oh yeah, I wanted to read this. This was a note that came to me today. And it was funny because when I was walking out here to get to this vehicle, there was this, we had a blizzard a couple days ago, so there was this mountain of snow, and it's kind of melting, and it's icy, and if I put my foot on it in doubt and in fear, it was kind of a slippery, I can feel myself instantly falling. And that fear was keeping me just from coming and sitting in this vehicle and making the recording. And then I thought I wanted to mention this in the recording, this line. And the line is, have no doubts, launch out into the deeps of God and fear not. So have no doubts, launch out into the deeps of God and fear not. And as soon as I thought about that, it became a test. Something inside me said, well, if you really want to have faith, if you really do have faith, step across that. You won't fall. And there's a freedom that comes in that faith. There's a freedom, I talked about it yesterday, of just falling back, of just letting go and knowing that something is there that's gonna catch you. And it took me a second to trample across that ice, because the man of sense is talking to me. You're gonna fall and break your ankle. You're gonna get hurt. It's rationally, it's a silly thing to do. It's a silly test. Just walk away from it. But I knew I had to do it. And as silly as that sounds, I had to take that leap of faith. And hopefully that was the first in a long line of leap of faith. But I think I'm ready for the launch. Day 289. Hey, what are you doing today?